Hey everyone, I'm making this video just to talk about a few different aspects of building a team around Acheron that I wanted to get out there. So to start off right into it, I think a lot of people are planning to use Pella. We know from what they've said that applying debuffs is very important for Acheron to be able to use her ult. And obviously want to be ulting as often as possible because it's very flashy and it probably is quite fun. So applying debuffs as fast as possible, a lot of people are leaning toward Resolution Shines as Pearls of Sweat. Great choice. It has the same base chance at S5 as her ult, so you have to build the same amount of hit rate. Obviously, not everyone's lucky enough to have this. I was lucky, and I got S5. So the first line is the very operative line in this situation, and what you need to keep in mind. When the wearer hits an enemy, and if the hit enemy is not already ensnared, then it will ensnare them. Now, if your Pell is very fast, and maybe she gets 2 turns before the enemy gets 1, then it will not trigger again. You will not apply the second debuff. It's not that it will apply and it will refresh. It won't apply at all. You will not get an application of the debuff and you won't get a slash stream stack. So, and I could be wrong. I don't have any early access or anything, but I haven't tried this myself. But actually I just read this online. I read this somewhere and I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. So I did not find this out myself, but I think anyone that reads it can figure that out. But a lot of people might skip over that first line. But I can't take credit for this. I read it somewhere first. So with that out of the way, maybe on those turns, you either change targets to a target that doesn't already have this debuff. And obviously that's not always possible. Maybe you just ulted and every enemy still has it. So in that situation, you might have to eat. And that sucks because you really want Pella to be very skill point positive. You probably want to do a 3 basic rotation. And that's just not always possible if you want to have maximum slash stream stacks. You probably will need to E sometimes. And that's about it for Pella. Also, you could potentially run her slower, maybe, so enemies get more turns. And then you might not need to worry about that. But I don't know. I don't know if that's really the right way to do it. But you could maybe try it. Silverwolf obviously doesn't have that problem because she'll always apply her debuffs, but she does need higher hit rate to get those bugs in with her basic attack. And then I want to go on to, I'm going to be using Gepard. And I know that's weird that I have access to Woho, I have Fushuen, but I'm choosing to use Gepard. And maybe it won't work out and I'll switch to Fushuen on the team, who knows. But there's this light cone. I think people that have their finger on the pulse know about this thing. When the enemy hits you, you can apply debuff to them. And with a good amount of super impositions, it has a pretty nice chance. 115 base is crazy. So this is obviously good to use. And I kind of want to use it on Gepard because he has higher threat. He has a trace. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, right here. Gepard has a higher chance to be attacked. So he'll get more mileage out of it than a Fushuen probably. Unless you're running... Well, actually, no. You couldn't use that because you already have the trend light cone. So he will get more mileage out of this than a different tank, except for maybe Preservation main character. I'm not really the biggest fan of that character, but it definitely could work because she also applies debuffs whenever she taunts. So for both those characters, there's also a little bit of synergy because they can apply debuffs themselves. Gepard can freeze. It's pretty bad base. It's a 65% chance. Let me bring that up. Yeah, 65% base chance. That's not that good. It's even lower than Silverwolf's bugs. And you need to build him for def and stuff, so it's kind of crappy to get a lot of hit rate. But, and not everyone can do this obviously, but I'm unlucky / lucky enough to have E1, so his base chance goes to 100. So it's pretty viable to get enough to make him pretty reliably freeze. And then there's this. I was obviously lucky enough to get E2. And this, I think, is really nice because as they told us in the live stream, when debuffs are triggered at any time, even on enemy turns, it will give Acheron a stack. So this one, after an enemy frozen by skill is unfrozen, their speed is reduced by 20% for 1 turn. So there's a couple different things to say about this. When the enemy unfreezes, you'll get a stack for Acheron. Very nice. But the whole concept comes at a little bit of a cost because if you're freezing enemies, they're going to be hitting you less. They'll be hitting Gepard less with their melee, and obviously they'll be triggering trend less often. So it's kind of a trade-off, but the thing is, it's not really a 100% chance to hit Gepard. Maybe they'll attack a different enemy. Maybe they won't use an AoE attack. So it's kind of a trade-off. getting more freezes, and then if you think about it, really, one skill can provide 2 debuffs because of this. One is a little bit delayed, obviously. So I think that's pretty good, and I'm going to be trying that out. I'm actually pretty happy that it got E3 because his ultimate's like his most important thing. It's the really operative skill that he has. So I'm kind of happy to have this. Hopefully I don't get any more. None of the other ones are really that interesting. This one, actually, I would take this one. I would take this one because it would immediately let me use Keel on every other character, all the non-damaging characters, basically the supports, because they would get 10% base and then 20 from this. But I don't know, if I if I lose acheron 50-50 to get this, I won't be happy. But if I get it on standard banner, I might be a little bit happy if he ends up working out for acheron. So that's just where I'm at with my team for him, or for her, sorry, for acheron. My relics on all 3 characters, all 3 supports, are pretty bad. Obviously, Gepard's spread super thin. He's 92 base speed. It's a pain to get him to 134 if you want him to be decently fast. But I got there. His defense, it'll go up a little bit more. It's only 2700 right now, but I'm hoping with how fast as he is, it might work. Another issue is with my other 2 characters being at 160. I don't know if they'll go too fast to make to maybe outrun his shield, because the shield ticks down on their turn. He's not one of these newfangled supports that have stuff that ticks down on his turn. So they might run out of shield. I don't know. I need to think about it a little bit more. But if he's getting hit enough, hopefully he'll be able to. Actually, I think I think they definitely might have some time where they don't have a shield. I think I just need to be smart about it. Hopefully, it'll definitely take some thought while playing to manage the shields, and maybe it doesn't work out, or maybe I just need to drop these 2 down to his speed, so then the shields don't outspeed the shields, which I'd be fine with, because right now their relics are looking trash, and I had to take stuff off of Sparkle, honestly, to get both Pella and Silverwolf above 161. But I think that if it does work out with those speed values, that it should be pretty nice. I mean, them both moving that fast. It'd be nice if I had Windset, obviously. I know people really shilling Windset these days, and it is good. It definitely is good. In this situation, it'd be the best set probably for these 2 characters. But I was not one to farm it, and I don't know if I will be. But if you want to really put the effort in, it's good. I mean, it's definitely good. So I think that's what I have. That's from my perspective I'm planning to go E0 S1. We'll see how the 50-50s go for me. I need to hit the 50-50 and the 75-25. So, and I ended up pulling a lot more on Sparkle than maybe I should have. And I'm not even maybe going to be using her for a while, because my other team, she's not on it. And my acheron team obviously will not have her. Well, I mean, potentially it could have her. There's people doing math that, you know, maybe Sparkle can be viable instead of like Pella or something. But you generate more stacks with multiple nihilities, and I think that while acheron would do more damage, maybe, I don't know how much slower you would get your ult, so that's something to think about. Acheron herself would, of course, get more turns with Sparkle, but then the other nihility, there would be 1 less nihility, and that nihility generates 1 per turn, plus an additional 1 on their ult. So it's just something to think about. I'm not really sure. It'd be nice to use my Sparkle. Really, it would just be nice to have E2, but obviously that's not necessarily something everyone can do. So that's about all I have to say. Those are just a couple things I've been thinking about and keeping in my head. I think the Gepard thing, obviously not everyone can really do that, but because maybe they don't have him, maybe they don't want to build him, maybe it's too much of a pain. Obviously my relics, I just threw something together and hopefully it's going to work out. I think he'll give around 2000 shield, which is not the best, but hopefully it's enough. I don't know, we'll see. But with having to give him so much speed on all of his gear, and I want a little bit of hit rate to really get those trend burns and the freezes and stuff. It's really spreading himself thin with defense, speed, hit rate, and he has to use ER rope, obviously. So it's a lot to manage for that. But I think the pellet tip everyone can use. Sometimes you have to hit E. Sometimes you need to change target. Sometimes you need to check the duration left and see if the enemy has the resolution debuff, and maybe you attack the different one. I do think that's a little bit of annoying to maybe micromanage which enemies have it, which don't. But it shouldn't be too bad. But maybe sometimes you have to open up the stats screen and see if the debuff's there, or look for it on the debuff bar. But that's about all I have to say. I hope any of this was useful. Maybe not. Maybe you already knew that. Maybe you can actually read and you realize that on your own, unlike me. I had to read someone else saying it online. But thank you for watching, and good luck with polls.